Hello and welcome to another edition of the Jamie Files. Today I want to talk about relativity. So the way the mind works, or the ego works, is it has to define things, and it has to categorize things, and it has to put things into containers. But it's not necessarily the whole truth about what something is. The ego just defines it as it is relative to something else. So let's take a cup for example. A cup is used for drinking out of, but it could also be used as a pencil holder. It just depends on how you define it. Some cups are better for holding pencils and some cups are better for drinking out of. That's the way the ego works, and that's what it's constantly doing all day with people, places, objects, problems, concepts. It's constantly doing that. So take problems, for example. A lot of people, when you're stressed out and you have a problem, it'll seem like it's the biggest thing in the world in the moment. But all it takes is for you to come across an even bigger problem, and now all of a sudden, the old problem shrinks. And it's no longer as big as a problem as it was before you came across the bigger problem. So, for example, earlier in the week, I was having a stressful day and I felt a little bit overwhelmed. And during this time, I checked on an investment that I have, and I noticed that it wasn't doing as good as I had expected. So I started panicking, and all of a sudden, the stress that I was going through prior shrunk, and I had wished that I could just could deal with what I was dealing with instead of what I was dealing with in the present. But luckily, I was actually looking at the wrong thing, and my investment was doing great. So after that, I was overwhelmed with a sense of gratitude and appreciation, and it really put me in a great mood after that, and I was no longer stressed out. Wow. So things can always be worse. Sometimes they can be better, but they can always be worse. So if you're having a bad day or you're stressed out, always realize that things can always be worse, and be grateful that they're not. So whatever stress or problem that you're dealing with, be grateful that it's not as bad as it could possibly be, and that it can always get worse. So you can relax and you can be grateful and appreciative of the obstacle that you're going through. So that's a reminder that I want to leave you with today, because a lot of people are stressed out nowadays. America is a society in which we're 5% of the world's population, but we are also one of the most stressed out nations in the world. So you can relax and just know that your ego is only, and also this applies to relationships. Like a lot of people who go through a breakup, or they're yearning for a certain someone, and things don't necessarily work out with that certain someone, they freak out and they get depressed, and that certain someone or your relationship that it went wrong or something like that is only the way it is because you've defined it that way. That's not the whole ultimate truth that there is. So always realize that there is no absolute truth when it comes to definitions. It's totally based on how your mind or your ego defines it, and that can change at the drop of a dime as soon as something else comes along. And that's the message that I want to leave you guys with today, and I hope that you have a sense of gratitude and appreciation no matter what you're going through right now, if you are going through something at all.